How's it going, everyone? I just want to say, as always, I am sorry for the lack of any progress lately. Things have been a little bit hectic. I know I say this all the time, but hopefully in the near future, things will pick up quite a bit and I'll be putting out updates on a regular basis. I'll get more into that at the end of this video though. So I'm just going to dive right into the updates. I have my test map here. This is the same map that I put out the demo for. First of all, in this new update, I've scaled the UI so that it does not exceed a certain size. Right now I'm in 720p on the screen resolution, and I have quite a bit of space here in the middle of the screen. In older versions of the engine, the UI would scale based on screen size. Now it's clamped to a specific size, and this prevents the UI from taking up too much real estate on larger screen sizes. So 1280 by 720, for example, I now have more real estate than I normally would with the default resolution. 1080p, again, you'll have more real estate as well. And it's a small quality of life change, but I think it really does help things out. And I'd like to thank Kiyuki for that. I apologize if I'm saying that name wrong. But yeah, he had suggested this and it is now implemented. Next up is something that I think a lot of people will really appreciate. This is not fully fleshed out yet, but I think it is a huge addition to the Rose engine. I have added a new tab with a C on it, and this stands for custom. And it allows you to import custom meshes into your project. So you can see here I have a heart, I have Suzanne, the blender monkey, I have a wooden chest, I also have a barrel, another barrel, and a broken barrel, and a building. You can import pretty much any 3D model that you can find. There are some steps involved to doing this, but for right now I'm just going to focus on how to adjust these models in the Rose engine editor itself. So first off, I'm going to place a texture here, and please forget about the duplicate items here. These are only there for testing purposes. So yeah, you might notice this looks not quite right. I just applied this barrel texture to this barrel and it looks really wonky. And there's a reason for that. I mentioned flip texture in the past and I said that this would be used in the future. Well, now is the time for that. If you click on flip texture, we now have our barrel displayed properly. Well, maybe not quite properly, because you can see straight through the barrel on the inside, which we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to click coal face, and now you can see we can see through the front of the barrel instead. Now we want to be able to see the front and the back, so we're going to choose no coal face. And just like that, the barrel looks perfect. Now again, I said this was not fully fleshed out. I am gonna move over here. I had already placed some of these barrels in the map, and there's two of them right here. What I meant by that was, well, first of all, there are no colliders in these 3D models. So what that means is if you add these barrels into your game and then you start up the game and you walk into them, the player will actually just walk straight through them as if they don't exist. This is something I plan to address in the future, but for right now, I do have a simple workaround so that you do not walk through your custom 3D models. It's a really simple, basic fix, but I think it works for right now. What you're going to want to do is take a cube, choose all sides of the cube, select a transparent texture, and just place that transparent cube over your barrel. You can see I already have one here, and I have one here as well. And now when you try to walk into this barrel, it will read the collider for the cube. I know this isn't perfect, this isn't an ideal solution, but this will be changed. This is only temporary for right now. The rest of the changes are mostly behind the scenes. They're features which are planned for the future and are not currently in use at the moment. The first one I've added is breadth first search, and I know it's not the most efficient search algorithm, but it's relatively quick. It's not the fastest. I do plan to change this to A-star pathfinding in the future, but for right now, it's BFS. Again, this is not used for anything, but this will be used in the future. The final addition to this latest version is mouse picking, and for those of you unfamiliar with what mouse picking is, it allows you to click your mouse in 3D space. So, for example, if I were to click right here, it would allow me to know where my mouse clicked inside of the 3D space. And this is a little bit more complex than in 2D space, but it's been added. In the future, I plan to update the editor. That way you can draw with your mouse. It will make things a lot quicker and hopefully a lot easier for most people. And I plan to add mouse movement for the player, which again, this is where breadth first search is going to come in handy. It'll allow the player to find a path in 3D space no matter where you click. And that's pretty much it for this update. There are a few other minor things, but I think those are the most important things which have been added. Now I'm going to show you real quick how to add a 3D model to your game. So I'm going to navigate to itch.io, and I'm going to type 3D models, and you should get quite a bit of results here. There's a lot of stuff here. Now the Rose engine can utilize virtually any type of 3D file. There are some limitations. For example, any rigged models, they're not going to be fully supported. And by rigged, if you're unfamiliar with 3D models, any model that is set up for 3D movement. For example, a human that can walk or roll or, move around in any capacity. This is only good for static 3D models. For example, this bike here. So I've already downloaded this bike, and I'll show you how to add it to your project. It's really simple. Okay, so I've already downloaded this. Now, first of all, in your project, you're going to want to create a models folder. This models folder is going to hold all of your custom 3D models. You're going to want to place the file that you've downloaded into it. Again, there are 4 different formats here. You only need one of them. I already took the OBJ file, and after this, there's a couple more steps. First of all, you're going to want to go to async to JSON, and I'll leave a link in the description below. This is the GitHub page for it. There are a few ways you can convert a model from, any of these formats into JSON. Right here you have convert models online, and then there's a download Windows binary. I recommend downloading it, that way you don't have to go to this website all the time. So yeah, you're just going to want to just add your file here and then start uploading. Or if you download it, you're just going to follow the instructions here. It's really simple to use. You're just going to type async to JSON and then input file, output file. You don't need to worry too much about flags, as I don't use them myself. I don't think they're necessary for just converting the file. The next step, I'm going to go back here. I already have async to JSON installed on my computer. For me, it's a little bit different. I'm on Linux, so I don't get the exe file. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type async to JSON. Then I'm going to put the input file, which is our obj file. We're going to input the obj file, and then I'm going to paste it again. But I'm going to replace the obj with JSON, and this is going to be our output file. So it's async to JSON, input, then output. And our input is bmx1 obj, our output is bmx1.json. And I'm just going to press enter, and just like that, it's done. I can now delete this obj file because it's not necessary anymore. And we're not quite done just yet. You can see we have a texture here as well for our 3D model. And in order to add textures, we're going to go into the image folder. We're going to create a new folder called model textures. It's in camel case, no spaces. Model, all lowercase, textures with a capital T. And inside of this model's texture, you're going to want to take this spokes one or whatever textures you're using. If there's more than one texture, you're probably going to need all of them, so that just a heads up there. I already have this installed, so that's not a issue here. After that, you're going to want to run your game. 1 second, sorry, wrong terminal. Now I'm going to go back into my test map, and now I'm going to go to custom, and here I have bmx1, and you can see this is a really big model. This is something that you need to be aware of before you import them. Is well, is this going to scale to fit into my project? Not all models will be this big, but yeah, just be aware that this could be a problem, especially for something like this. Even if I were to scale this all the way down to the smallest size, which is 0.3, it's still going to be relatively big. Whoops. There we go. And yeah, since we already added our spokes into our model textures folder, I'll add that here. And just scroll down till you find your image. And there we go. You can do the same for the back wheel. And that's one of the good things about the Rose engine. It shows you what mesh you're currently working on. That way you know what you're applying texture to. So it's really easy to follow what's what when you're doing this. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Now, as I mentioned before, I do plan to start putting out updates for this on a much more regular basis, and the reason for that is that I am actually currently developing my first commercial project, and it is going to be utilizing the Rose engine. For those of you who have seen my project Dyson Dungeons, I've converted it to 3D space, and I am continuing progress on that. I should have some footage of this up on the screen at the moment. I'm currently looking for a publisher, or possibly looking into Kickstarter, and if I do manage to find a publisher or successfully launch a Kickstarter campaign, then the Rose engine will get quite a bit more attention, as I'll be focusing a lot of effort into polishing it, as my project will actually be utilizing it. And if that does happen, I won't be taking commissions anymore until the project is finished, which means the majority of my time will be going straight to the Rose engine, as well as add-ons for the Rose engine. Well, I guess that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'd like to thank all of my patrons. If you're interested in following the development of the Rose engine, you can subscribe here or follow me on RPG Maker Web forum. And I've also recently created a Discord server for all of my plugins and scripts. So if you have any issues, please check out the Discord server and drop a message there. Leave a link to that in the description below. Thanks, and have a great day, guys.